How much does your theater audience influence you? Turns out I am greatly influenced by high schoolers. I'm Renee Marchol, Editor-in-Chief of Audio Listening Magazine. It's my pleasure to bring an audio theater review of Shakespeare, Tavern, Playhouse, ASC, and Havoc Movement's Dracula, The Failings of Men. I attended the matinee 2 Wednesdays before Halloween 2024. Happy Halloween, Atlanta! The Tavern already alerted me that my viewing experience would be with several Georgia high schools, including Jackson High School. Since theater is an interactive experience, I knew this would influence me. I wondered what these teens would make of the relationship between Dracula and Renfield and Dracula and Lucy. Considering there's more information available on TikTok against dating violence, I wondered if Dracula would be examined under a different lens by this generation. By that I mean, I was wondering if the audience would immediately see Dracula as not sympathetic, not misunderstood, but just a narcissistic villain. Back when I was a teen, we didn't have that word. We called that type the seductive bad boy. When I heard the writer's use of the thud, I knew this was a decidedly different telling. Thud. Lucy's body hit the ground after a rapturous twirl with Dracula on an aerial hoop. This retelling is straightforward in that Dracula directly opposes God and discards his servants. Renfield is double-minded, calling out for the shepherd of the Bible, reciting the 23rd Psalm, and then offering his wrists as if his arms were invisible shackles as Dracula's slave. Watching Dracula, especially through this writer's perspective, I wonder why I thought Dracula ever had a dark allure in the first place. I found myself cheering for Dr. Jack and Dr. Anna Van Helsing stabbing Dracula. If you asked me in my own teen years, I kind of wanted to run away with Dracula in a I can change him kind of way, but that's foolishness. This writer uses so many 3D and kinesthetic techniques to tell the story on stage of Dracula's envy, cruelty, and cowardice. The 2 asylum victims of Dracula's blood drinking are mute, but speak volumes through their movements, assisting Dracula and Lucy in their flying, using pulleys and crouching over Renfield when he's betrayed by Dracula, his master. I felt I was watching an anti-dating violence PSA in the best way. For instance, the healthy way Dr. Jack and Arthur remain friends, though one won Lucy's heart in a proposal. Jack and Arthur care about each other and Lucy. It's heartbreaking when Arthur says to Dr. Jack that we've dressed each other's wounds. This is the hardest wound. After they bury Lucy for the first time. It's such a fresh choice to remove Jonathan Harker and Mina completely from this telling. In past cinematic versions, Lucy is treated without much depth, and she's killed before the audience gets to know her. In this one, the writer adds such a useful element of having Lucy confess to Dr. Anna Van Helsing that she felt rage at her fiancé Arthur for driving away Dracula, though Dracula cruelly let her thud to the ground after he was done playing on the aerial hoop. A warping of all that's good is seen and heard with a thud. Dracula sets up Renfield to attack Lucy and kill her in her home, and then Dracula teases Lucy to blame Renfield and feed on him. Dracula is a cruel master who does not reward loyalty, and anyone who goes with him goes mad. Sadly, Renfield's vacillating between 2 masters makes it seem as if good God is uninvolved or silent. Or I could be wrong. There are several subplots where Dr. Anna Van Helsing promotes a Catholic faith, but at the last moment abandons the cross and says, "Action, not God," and Dr. Jack picks up the cross with new interest. Dr. Jack's character is developed more than I've seen it in other tellings. Dr. Jack has often been told for laughs, misusing patient drugs to get high, Francis Ford Coppola's version. In this version, Dr. Jack is really likable because he's forgiving and willing to learn. Jack gets smacked twice by Dr. Anna Van Helsing for acting hysterical. Dr. Jack is cut with a knife by his patient Renfield, but forgives the patient and hugs him when Renfield seeks his help. Unfortunately, Dracula mind controls Renfield and can even control his speech. The black fingernailed hand of Dracula was so expressive. Oftentimes, Dracula would appear on the lower floor, and as if controlled by voodoo, Renfield, on the upper floor, had to bow or extend his wrists to let blood. It is a truly terrifying scene when Lucy is transformed, reveling in cruelty, and aerial silks of red are torn out of Renfield's intestines. Dracula and Lucy dance and soar on these. When Lucy must be killed a second time because she terrorizes children of the town, biting them on the neck, the high schoolers near me gasped when she drank from and threw down an infant with a thud. It's a curious choice to have Dr. Anna Van Helsing become embittered because of society's misogyny, predicted by Dracula that she would not be as respected as her male peers. Why would she turn her back on God when Dracula the devil reveled in this prejudice? However, it is realistic in this horror fantasy about relationships, including faith. Dracula preying on the mentally ill and locked up shows his cruelty in draining and enslaving those without power or credibility. Lucy is so effective playing her transformed vampire self like an addict. She seems high and easily swayed to rage. She becomes a convenient weapon of Dracula, who doesn't care about her. When Dracula is kept out of his refuge by a rose from Amsterdam and a necklace of garlic, he berates the twice-dead Lucy as being his bride who failed to protect him. Unlike the sacrificial friendship of Dr. Jack and Arthur, sacrificial romantic love of Arthur for Lucy, who gave her blood transfusions in an effort to save her, and the sacrificial mentorship of Dr. Anna Van Helsing with her protege Dr. Jack, Dracula is for one person only, and that's for himself. In a monologue by Renfield, where Dracula forces his slave to praise him, Renfield talks about Dracula's war with God. I'm choosing to think that God's goodness is seen through the sacrificial relationships between friends, mentor and student, doctor and patient. Dracula feeds and is never done destroying, spreading madness and betraying those he promises. Dracula revels in seducing and forsaking. Dracula's death is easy to cheer for. I would watch this many more times. No bad boys for me. No more dark allure. This has been Renee Marchol of Atlanta for Audio Listening Magazine.